Good morning. We're going to get right into it. Governor Ned Lamont is here in Studio A to talk about his proposals outlined in Wednesday's State of the State address. Governor, thanks for being with us.
Hey, Eric.
I looked at some of the reaction after your address. 33 minutes you spoke. Kevin Kelly, stable financial picture. Vincent Candelora called it reasonable. A couple of Republicans sounding like they were okay with things. Then Jason Rojas says, considering the state of the finances in our state, it doesn't feel as good as it should to him. So what do you want people to take from your speech about where things are right now with the state of Connecticut?
I'm getting older, so things seem to speed up in life. It seems like just yesterday that we were working with the legislature and came up with a 2-year budget. It was passed on a very bipartisan basis. We're a little over halfway through that first year. We're still in balance. We're in balance for 2025, the next year as well. That's not true of a lot of our neighboring states. They're talking about cuts. We're talking about increases or, maintaining what we're doing. So I feel good where we are as a state. And if the legislature wants to sit down and make some adjustments, remember, it's a pretty tight ship we got. If you want to add here, we take away somewhere else, keep it going.
Well, that tight ship, of course, is because of these fiscal guardrails. They've gotten a lot of attention. I had Kevin Kelly on the show last week, the Senate Republican leader. He said it's working just as his party had hoped. What's your view on it? Because some folks in your party have used the word straitjacket and said there are things the state could do given the rosy financial picture that they can't because of those fiscal guardrails. Is it working?
Look, I think it is. First of all, the legislature passed the fiscal guardrails for another 5 years less than a year ago. So we've sort of put our stake in the ground there. What I like about it is, and I said this to the legislature at the State of the State, we used to go from boom to bust, and it was sort of this herky-jerky budgeting, and oh my God, we got a lot of money to spend. Now we got a deficit. We've had 6 years of balanced budgets and 6 years of being able to continually increase our investments in K through 12 education and daycare and our universities and all the good things we want our state to do.
That's one of the fights that some people predicted may be coming up, including with members of your own party, is education funding, be it at the elementary level, at the middle school level, but also, of course, higher education funding. Is that something that you think is going to be a heated topic in this 2024 session?
Well, I think everybody gets pretty edged up. I'm used to that. But remember, for K through 12, we're continuing to increase the ECS formulas for our most distressed schools, something the legislature promised to do a few years back. Remember this, Eric, we also have well over $400 million of ESSER federal money to be invested in education, not next year, but over the next 2 years. So we're going to be able to continue to make the investments we need, make sure we have the best K through 12 system in the country.
There was a lot of talking about things your administration is doing, be it housing or transportation. Not a lot of totally new programs that you put out there, but the guidance for elementary schools and phones was something totally new that was first addressed in your speech. Tell us about that, and you said it came from a combination of China and Beyonce.
Well, I just think a lot of social media is really antisocial. I see a lot of extreme behavior in the adults and in the kids in our school. I think some of that's related to, the smartphones. So I said China. TikTok, we all worry about TikTok. They can only use it for 1 hour a day for their elementary school students in China. And Beyonce, I joke, she makes you put it, in a lockbox before you can go into many of her concerts. So I said, look, for elementary school students, maybe that makes some sense. Leave your smartphone at home, or at least lock it up in your locker. Don't use it during the course of the day. Listen to your teacher. Play with your friends, not your phone.
And that's some guidance that's going to be coming down from the state, going to superintendents around Connecticut, that may be the way to move for elementary kids.
Yeah, that's my recommendation. What say you?
Listen, I have a 12-year-old. It's certainly that phone in front of their face is certainly a big deal. One other thing that you talked a lot about was paying down debt. And I used to talk about this with Kevin Lembo when he would come on the show. Any economist can tell you that that's a big deal and it's an important deal. Anyone who's trying to balance a budget can, but it's not sexy. And it's hard maybe as the leader of a state to say, we've done something good even though you can't see it. Is that a message that you, I don't want to say struggle to get people to understand, but is that part of it you have to keep hammering home that we're doing something good that'll help us in the future?
Look, I think it is. For 30 years, we said we're going to start paying down our debt later, right? That's what we heard. Put everything on the credit card. We ended up with some of the most debt per capita of any state in the country. That was like running a marathon in cement over shoes. So thanks to working with the legislature, we paid down about $8 billion in pension debt. That means for our state employees, your pension is a lot more secure. That means for the taxpayers, it's another $800 million a year that we don't have to put in the pensions we can now use for social programs. And I said it's the same thing for our homeowners. I mean, a lot of folks suffer from medical debt, you know, big unexpected debt that weighs on you. We're going to pay off about $650 million in medical debt. We're working with our companies. If you graduate from a Connecticut school, go to a Connecticut company, they're going to start paying down your student debt.
One thing that was not in there, notably after a couple of years, was any talk of a tax decrease. Is that something that has happened and people should enjoy the fruits of what's already happened and there will be no more? Where do you stand on that? Do you expect to get calls from within your own party to do that?
I think the Republicans will ask me to cut more taxes. I think the Democrats will ask me to do a little bit more spending. I've got a balanced budget. It's pretty good. We had the biggest tax cut in the history of the state last year. Let's digest it and see how we're doing.
Let's talk housing, because you and I have talked about this before. It's a big deal for your administration. You use CRDA, Capital Region Development Authority, as a model that you'd like to take around the state. Just for our viewers, how do you see that working as it's rolled out?
So Mike Freemuth, the director there, he's like the baker. He bakes a financial layer cake. It's private money, it's federal money, it's private and state monies. He's able to build over 5,000 units of housing in the greater Hartford area. It's a good model. It's a mix of housing. It's workforce housing. It's affordable housing. It's supportive housing for folks in need. It's working in the greater Hartford region. I want to take that around the rest of the state.
And is transit still going to be the focus, having that transit-oriented housing? Because so many places you've gotten that NIMBY, not in my backyard stuff where people say, you know, maybe not understanding what it is, but saying, I don't want affordable housing down the block from me.
Look, I think transit-oriented makes sense. What that means is you're able to walk to the bus stop, walk to the train. I think that's where we're going. I'm going to the cities. I'm saying, look, you want to get that brownfield cleaned up? What do you plan to put there? If you make a priority of housing, we'll be there to clean it up. They tell me I want more rail coming through my town. You going to build any more housing next to the train station? We'll see more rail.
One thing that you didn't talk a lot about was crime. And I know you've said that, you know, the numbers are trending the way you'd like them to, but so much has been made, particularly of juvenile crime, stolen cars, things that make a lot of headlines. Do you think something has to be done in this session to address that?
I think we've done a lot in the last couple of sessions. You know, we're holding folks accountable, those repeat offenders who maybe were stealing cars not once but multiple times. We're making sure they're no longer on the street. We're making sure that we have more cops on the beat. But I also quoted Senator Gary Winfield at the State of the State, where he said we'd have a lot fewer kids who need a second chance if they just got a first chance. That resonates with me.
And so what does that mean? What do you hope to do to fix that? What's their first chance?
That means they give them the very best education, debt-free community college, free workforce training, give them a job, give them something they believe in, they're going to have a better future.
And you had a baby at the Capitol, one of the recipients of the baby bonds. When the baby gets older, we'll cash in on a Lamont program.
Yeah, stick around, Baby Bond. That's what I nicknamed her, Baby Bond. And in 18 years or 30 years, you'll have, say, $15,000. You can put that to education. You can put that to a down payment on a home right next to our Time to Own program. I want more people with ownership. That's how you build wealth.
I want to talk about something that wasn't in your speech, and that's National Guard troops at the border. Tell me about your letter related to that. Yeah,
Governor Scott from Vermont and I wrote a letter to the public. Look, I wanted the deal that Chris Murphy had negotiated on a bipartisan basis. I thought it made really good sense securing the border, and they didn't get that done. So he sent a letter to the president saying, look, if you're not getting any help from the Republicans on the border, Connecticut's ready to step up and help.
And I suspect you haven't heard any requests for help yet.
No.
You ended with a laugh line yesterday saying things in Hartford were much better than in Washington. Is that one of the hallmarks of this state, is that people may disagree and sometimes pointedly disagree, but stuff does seem to move forward?
Look, we work together pretty well. We work together pretty well on a bipartisan basis. We don't talk at each other. We talk with each other. It gets edged up now. Legislature's in session. I can only control what I can control. I look down at Washington. We may not have a budget. I don't know what they're going to do in Ukraine. I don't know what Red Sea oil is going to do. There are a lot of incoming that we don't control. I like to do the best I can for Connecticut with the things we can control.
Well, I'm glad we got to cover a lot of topics. We appreciate you being here. And then it's a short session, but we'll have you back to talk more about it.
Thanks,
Governor
Eric.
Ned Lamont, thanks for being with us.